Hello and welcome to Chargers Talk 4630. I'm Stacey, and joining me is my co-host and friend, Kyle D. If this is your first time here, we're happy you joined us, and we're asking if you would be so kind to follow us by subscribing to our podcast. This way you'll be notified whenever we go live or release the latest content. And you can also hear us wherever you get your podcasts. And last, please go to your browser and check out more Chargers content from some great writers along with myself and my co-host, Kyle D, who operates and runs stormcloud.blog. Good Tuesday. Is this Tuesday morning again? Wow, this is Tuesday morning. This is Tuesday morning again. And then next week, I wasn't aware that the Ravens and Chargers are Monday night now.
There you go. I'm pumped, man. Back-to-back primetime. Horrible.
I'm being honest. I hate night games, man. I really do.
I don't know how you East Coasters do it. I have no idea. My brother moved to Philadelphia for work after school, and he would tell me, man, he's like, he's younger, so for him it's a little different. He's doing the bar thing, and he's like, man, it's kind of cool. I go out to the bars and there's sports on all night, but he's like, when I want to watch my Padres, I'm in the chamber, man. This stinks. I'm up till 12 at night sometimes trying to catch these games and get to sleep before work. I don't know how you do it, Stacey.
It's hard, man. And then you're up late. The day is long and slow because you got all the games, the 1 o'clock games, the 4 o'clock games. Then you got from 7 o'clock, they start promoting the game at night, and it takes another hour and a half before they get started. And you're sitting here anxiously waiting. And then, it seemed like the game, I didn't get to bed till probably like 1:30 because, your emotions is still high. Had they not given up 21 points, I probably would have been chilling the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? You was kind of stressed in the fourth quarter.
So here you go, Chargers Talk audience. This is how we slowly begin pulling Stacey over to the West Coast. All right, these are the little breadcrumbs we're planting, and he's going to be over here in no time, enjoying his retirement on the coast, baby. I love it.
Yeah, that could be true. That could be true. I can't stand the night. Like, they didn't want to mess with the Chargers at the beginning of the season. We get no pride. We get no love. Now all of a sudden, they like, wait a minute, they're looking pretty good. Wait, now you flex the Jets out and put us in the spot. And then I'm looking yesterday and I said, wow, they put us on Monday night, like another long night. Then we got to go in the back, me and my son, because we're yelling and screaming, but my wife is trying to go to sleep because she got to get up in the morning and go to work. So we got to go in the back so we don't disturb her. Yeah, so it throws me off when we have those night games. Long as we win, though, it's okay.
Yeah, I don't mind making national statements, man. I like it. It. Let everyone know. Put them all on notice. Justin Herbert is back. He's elite. He's crushing it. Yes. I love it personally, but here we are.
Yeah, well, look, the Chargers, they had their hands full. We knew it. The Bengals offense had been carving up defenses this year, and we knew coming off that game where they lost to the Baltimore Ravens trying to convert 2 points after that final touchdown they scored, the Chargers was facing a team that was desperate for a win and desperate to stay in the playoff picture. The Chargers and Jesse Minter's defense was more than ready for that high-powered offense in the first half, and that was evident as they kept the Bengals out of the end zone. Kyle, let's talk about it as we watch some highlights from that first half.
Black about, early hits, helmet-to-helmet hits. He timed that perfectly.
Yeah, he did. Hey, listen, man, it was very stressful for me that night because I was talking to my son. I had a few people that had called me up and they was asking me what I think. Like, yo, man, this is a huge test. It's a huge test. And I said that it is, but I really believed it in my heart that they were up for the task. You heard all week about they ain't been playing nobody, this and that. And the defense came out and they were lights out in that first half. But when the second half came, the only thing that I had an issue with that kind of surprised me, we hear all the time about great coaches. We see interviews on great players that played the game. And we always hear them say, if you got a significant lead in the second half, that you have to run that ball, because if you have somebody on that other side that's like a Peyton Manning or like a Pat Mahomes, or like a Josh Allen, you got to keep them on the sideline because of the high power offense that the Bengals have. It don't take them long to strike, just like that. And what they needed to come back is to get us 1, 2, 3 and out. They come and score 1, 2, 3 and out. And that's what happened. We came out and threw on first and second down, incompletion, clock stops. And then now you try to run and it's 3rd and long, because I think he went like 0 for 7 coming out in the second half. And that gave them their opportunity. That's the only thing that I was baffled by just a little bit. What did you think about that?
I don't know if we have enough of a enough of a sample size to put it all on Greg in the play calling there, Stacey. But just personally, I totally get and respect your opinion on that one, but I don't have as strong of a conviction, because I do think to some degree you need to keep your foot on the gas pedal and not get away from passing the ball at all. I agree that there's a balance there, but if one of those passes had been completed and we got a first down, there's a good chance that through an extended drive, we would have seen a lot more running. It just happened to be that we got shut down early when we tried to pass, and then we put ourselves in 2nd and long, 3rd and long, and we kept feeling like we had to go back to the well to try to play catch up. And we're talking about, I think, 2 and outs, or maybe even 3 drives that stalled prematurely. So would I have liked to see more running? I would have liked to see more success. I think we all would have liked to have seen more success there. And I think that would have inherently involved a lot more running had those first downs been gotten. But I think what we're seeing is Herbert's magic is only going to go so far. It felt like we were charging a little bit because the Bengals were allowed to come back in the game. That felt less like charging to me, even though in the moment it did, and more like we have limitations on offense. We do. That's just with the talent level that we have at receiver, at tight end. We still haven't revamped the offensive line like we would like to. I don't expect the offense to be dominant through 4 quarters. I don't know if they're built to be at this point. And what you saw is the Chargers have a lot of success early, and then they finished strong, but there was a gap where they had a hard time getting it together. And I just think until we get another receiver, a tight end that's a really big passing threat, and a little bit more stout in the interior, there's going to be portions of the game where that does happen. But I hear you. It would have been nice to get one of those first downs and then really hammer that ball home with some running. It just, we stalled a little bit because Herbert can't do everything. Yeah. His windows have been this small and he's hitting them. And if he's off by the tiniest bit, then it gives the other team an opportunity to really come back. And that's what I saw happen. What do you think, Stacey?
Yeah, I got to push back a little bit on that.
Here's
why I'm saying that. It's not my opinion. Again, like when we start this segment, I'm talking about this is what all the great coaches say. This is what the players say, not our next door neighbor, not our coworker, or just a friend of ours. These are people who played the game. They've been in the game their entire life, where they say, listen, if you have a lead, and I get what you're saying, if he complete 1 or 2 of those passes or if you convert first downs, yes, we could say that. But here's what the difference between passing and running. If you throw the ball and it's incomplete, the clock stops. If you run the ball, even if you get stuffed, guess what? The clock continues to move. So the clock is your best friend when you got a lead like that. So I'm not saying just constantly run. The Bengals coming back, it wasn't so much due to their high-powered offense. It was due to us not executing the way we did in the first half. That gave them an opportunity to come back. Had we converted 1 or 2 first downs running the ball, even if you didn't get a touchdown, those 2 possessions, we took 1 minute and 20 seconds off the clock. You don't, 1 minute and 20 seconds. Come on now. Yeah. What happened to the long methodical drive where you go maybe 7 plays for 6 minutes or so and kick a field goal or score a touchdown? And so when I didn't see that, next thing I know, the 3rd possession, Justin Herbert takes off running, gets a first down, but get hit and fumble the ball. They take it, throw another touchdown to T. Higgins. Yes, that felt like it was charging again. That's we seen that movie a whole lot of times. My son, both we were just slumped in the seat like this can't happen. This can't happen. Not under Jim Harbaugh. It can't happen. I want you to listen to this clip. I was listening to Howie Long on the radio, and I want you to listen to this clip. This is what Howie Long said.
As I watched the fourth quarter, I felt like the Chargers passed the baton to the Bengals. For years now, it's been charging. Now it's bangling or bungling. There were narratives on narratives on narratives. Like, as this is happening, Herbert has this seven passing completion streak.
No,
Herbo's
he's
a dog, bro. He's
no,
a dog.
he is. And to what you just said, like, it's funny because it switched where the Bengals used to be the team that you don't want to play, and now the Chargers is the team that you don't want to play.
No, you don't, because they have a lot going on both sides of the ball. But I will say this, they tried their best to charge her in the second half, because I thought he was lights out for a lot of the game, and I also thought they asked him to do a lot in the second half. Okay, like, they abandoned the run game, which to me was a little curious with a lead. But when your guy's that efficient, I get it. Now, this is their first field goal win, like a 3-point or less win in like 10 games that it came down to a field goal. I don't think they've won a close game in forever. So this was huge for Justin. It's affirming for the coaching staff. It's affirming for the culture. It's affirming for the team.
So we weren't the only ones that was feeling that. Everyone that watched, and all the analysts and the other players, they were feeling what we were feeling. One of the other guys was talking and mentioned and said, man, I feel so bad for Charger fans, because everyone felt like we charging again. Mm-hmm. But now this is the first time we won this type of a game, because usually we would lose these games. And that's where that title charging came from. You can't say that no more, because we understand that sometimes, even with the success record-wise, I always felt like if we could put together 4 quarters of football, man, and I'm not being biased because of my love for the Chargers, we could be a dominant, scary team. This was the game against one of the elite quarterbacks in the league. This was also a game that a lot of people didn't think we would be able to win because we didn't have the firepower to stand up to them. This also was a game that usually in the past, they would cave in and choke after giving it up. Even Joey Bosa was talking in an interview, and Joey was saying, I was like, uh-oh, here we go. He said that even went through his head. But Jim Harbaugh kept these guys together, and when it mattered the most, that defense made two drives where they could have put us away, and this defense came up huge. Man, you can't say enough about Cam Hart and Tarheeb Steele, man.
Well, that's actually was going to be my next point, Stacey. That's when I really think that a big part of the big Bengals comeback was Cam Hart being hurt. It's that reminded me for what it did to the Chargers defense last night. Losing Cam Hart felt like when we had Michael Bandy playing wide receiver 2 years ago, where we just had so many injuries at the wide receiver position. There was only so far Herbert could lift the offense on his own with the disparity in talent with other teams. If we're rolling out Michael Bandy as one of our receivers that's running routes, we're in trouble, because it means that our wide receiver room has been depleted. With Eli Apple taking snaps over from Cam Hart, I believe that was kind of the same thing. Cam Hart has been a presence. He is a very powerful tackler. Tarheeb Steele has been this guy with the ball skills, and Cam Hart's been this guy that's just disrupting the plays. He's been playing physical. So there's 2 different styles of play from our cornerbacks. It's great. And when he went down, that's when it really seemed like we had a whole different, I wouldn't say mentality, but we felt a lot softer. There was a lot more room for them to move. And I think Cam Hart's a big part of that. And I really, really hope the extra day, I know you're bummed about that night game, Stacey, but maybe that extra day to getting to Monday helps Cam Hart clear protocol this week, because the boys need him.
Yeah, I hope so, man. But Ja'Sia Taylor, in coverage, he's not a good cover guy. So we seen that happen last week too. Yeah, Ridley, left them in the dust, and shows you how good Cam Hart and these guys are rookies, him and Tarheeb Steele, because Tarheeb is the one on that 3rd and 8. If Jamar Chase convert that first down, and Tarheeb Steele broke that up and stayed with him. So, and man, both of these guys were 5th round picks, man. Like, Joe Ortiz really hit with these guys.
It's incredible.
I want to just say this really quick. When you keep saying, you said several times that the receivers are not comparable with other teams, and I mean, Ladd McConkey has 615 yards. Joshua Palmer has 365 yards. Quentin Johnston has 354 yards and 7 touchdowns. Will Dissly has 352 yards. That's kind of like a Jim Harbaugh wide receiver group.
So when I was talking about comparing Cam Hart, that was from a couple of years ago when we were just so hurt the room was depleted. In terms of making a deep playoff run, we have really solid role players in the receiving room right now, I think. QJ is another guy that had a good start to the game. And those highlights you showed, you saw him on a comebacker route. That's one of his strengths. And then you saw him break free and have plenty of separation between his cornerback and the safety. Justin Herbert found a hole. But in the second half, we got back to kind of just throwing the ball up to him in a role that DJ Chark would be playing if he was active.
Oh, God.
Which is a whole other thing that's going to give us heartburn. But he's not the guy that you just want to throw the ball up to when he doesn't have that kind of separation. He doesn't have elite speed where, straightaway speed where he's just going to leave somebody in the dust. So if he doesn't get him off the break, just throwing it up to him is not his game, man. So I still like the receiving room. I just, Will Dissly would be best suited as our, second option at tight end and a run blocking first.
Right guy. Now, he looked like first right now in terms of passing, for real.
But he's stepped it up right now. But he's just not. It's tough because I feel like and you could say this at any time. But when Ladd went down and looked like he might have been hurt, my first thought was, oh my gosh, like we don't have the talent behind those three guys to kind of backfill and keep things moving. And Palmer and QJ aren't dominant enough to succeed without having that third option in Ladd, in my opinion.
It's funny that you saying this now because I remember an earlier podcast, I was the one screaming for a number one wide receiver.
You were
like, no, we don't need one. Now you're saying we don't have enough. That's weird.
I was saying I wanted a tight end, right? And that's still how I feel. That's where it could have best been used. But yes, like there's that worry.
See it. When we're behind, you saw it with the Joshua Palmer drop. Jim Harbaugh made the difference. Not just him, he surrounded himself with some great coaches. And it's funny because last week I brought up that my fear was we would lose him to a head coaching job. And you said, no. Every talk show was talking about Jesse Minter becoming the head coach next year. Even Jim Harbaugh even said it.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, are they listening to Chargers Talk 4630?
and he's going to get interviews for sure. He's going to be one of the hottest defensive coaches coming out. But like we said last week, it's going to come down to, in my opinion, is there a job that's attractive enough? He's not going to want to go to the Jets. Clip this. If he goes to the Jets, roast me for it. But, it's got to be the right situation because and this is, again, just my belief, he knows that there's something special happening here. And he's not going to want to be one and done if the team that he's going to isn't something that he can build foundationally with. You know that Jim's in his ear telling him, because he comes from a line of coaches and he knows how important it is to not be in Robert Saleh's position where you're dealing with the worst ownership group in the league and it's going to blow your one chance before you have to come back into a coordinator role and completely reset. He's going to be looking for a job where ownership, talent, culture all kind of converge together. And he can be like, I can drop into that organization, not just the team, but the organization, and we'll flourish together. And so there's a couple different things that have to come into play for him to, I believe, want to go for that head coaching role right away, at least. And we'll see if that plays out. It's still certainly could, Stacey.
I also was listening to J.K. Dobbins. I'm talking to Cowherd. I'm just more and more inspired by this guy every time I hear him talk. And he was talking about his injury. I got a little clip. I just want you to listen to what he was saying about what he's been through and where he is.
Think about some of the injuries that I had. Most people don't come back from them. And, they don't. And if they do, so it's a special year for me because I finally get to show people like, hey, whenever I'm healthy, I might be one of the best running backs in the NFL, give them the volume and and all that stuff, you know, I might be one of those guys, you know, and I'm finally getting to prove it. I'm finally getting a chance to prove it. And I'm going to keep getting better. That's the thing. Like, it's just the first year. I tore my Achilles last year. This is my first year back. So I got lots of room to improve. So it's only going to keep getting better.
Man, I like this dude. Every time I listen to him, man, I'm inspired. When you talk about his hamstring was torn, his MCL, his LCL, his PCL, you know, a blown out Achilles, and he's playing like this, and he probably only 75%. We have to bring him back.
All that cap space that we have for next year, the more I see this team, the more I want to use it to keep a lot of these prove it deals guys that we have, because a lot of them have performed. You know, Tier Tart, Puna Ford, don't let them leave the building.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Like it's mind blowing. Like, you're starting to see kind of, we might let Joshua Palmer, you know, go to free agency. Asante Samuel will probably be going. It might even be Christian Fulton, because, you know, we've had such a great revelation from our young rookies stepping up. And there's a little bit concern about his hamstring acting up again, which was a problem for him last year. You can kind of see which pieces we might be comfortable letting test the market. But there are some guys that have completely turned things around that you really can't let them leave. You can't let Puna Ford out the building, man.
No. I mean, that's what we were banking on. You know, low risk, high reward, and majority of all of them have been high reward. I mean, look what we're getting from Will Dissly. When he caught that touchdown, I was like, wow, that was Will Dissly. If his hands are good now, and he obviously got open with some room to spare and caught that touchdown, I'm like, hey, man, you know, Justin has elevated everybody on this offense. And I don't know, maybe Will could always do that. He wasn't asked to do that with Seattle. Now he's being asked to do that because of Hayden Hurst can't stay on the field. And Hayden Hurst, I heard, was a healthy scratch.
Yeah.
But because he's being outplayed by Will Dissly, how good is that? We have guys healthy scratches because we got so much depth right now.
Yeah. And Dissly is signed for another 2 years. So he's not going anywhere. He's not one of our prove it guys. He is somebody that was identified as he was our most expensive free agent on the offensive side of the ball, right? Like, he was our premier signings. and we saw him as a guy that's going to be tight end number 2. Hopefully Hayden Hurst performs on a prove it. He hasn't, but you know, Dissly's been great. He's still, you know, I think Dissly got open on that play through a great route concept, that 4 verts from a tight formation that Greg Roman came up with, or one of his assistants. But
nobody was expecting to have to be keeping an eye on Will Dissly either.
Yeah.
So I think that's some of it too.
And Herbie dotted it, you know.
Yeah.
But Will's still got to execute, and he did. It's just it's going to be a beautiful thing when that new tight end we have next year is just a little bit quicker, a little bit better route running, and Will can be that tight end 2 again. But
he's tough too, man. Hard to bring down, you know.
And that's not to bash who we have in the room right now. I'm really digging Tucker Fisk, man. Dude's like 285, 280.
Yeah, I know.
Is another tight end, and he's holding down those edges like he's another lineman. So man, that's
typical Harbaugh and Greg Roman football, for real. When he lined up Fisk and Matlock lined up back there, you know what's coming. You know what's coming. And I seen Matlock, man, dominate and put linebackers on there behind to make room for J.K. Dobbins when he's running, and then come on the defensive side and burst through the line. He looked like a beast on both sides right now.
With Matlock, he transitioned into that. It felt like really late in the offseason too. I mean, maybe they were practicing it in the non-media sessions all along, but we had no idea they were going to be rolling that out until right before the preseason or right before the regular season. I don't remember how it was ordered, but it surprised us all. And when you have a guy making that kind of major transition, you got to expect it's going to take a while to develop. And all you can really look for are moments where it clicks, not the whole game, not, you know, the majority of his snaps, but look for that potential for him to, once he mentally gets it down right, does he have the physical attributes? Can he blow up a hole? And Matlock showed those flashes. So hopefully he keeps stringing them together more and more. And by next year, when he has a whole offseason to really focus on that craft, we're going to have a Patrick Ricard type guy that really be a dominant blocker.
I think they don't talk about him enough for what he do. You talk about two-way players, how rare they are. He's a two-way player.
3, if you consider special teams.
Special
too,
teams,
man.
absolutely.
He's
yes.
everywhere.
Before we end this up, we talked about what it was going to take maybe a month ago.
Mhm.
And I was saying at best 10-7, at worst 9-8. And I was saying that, and people were thinking that's too much.
Mhm.
But I'm saying, considering what Jim Harbaugh has done everywhere else, I expect that here with a Justin Herbert. I expect that, and it looked like they may exceed that. We might end up with 11 or 12 wins, before it's all said and done. So, but we were talking about what it was going to take, and I was saying we need to stack wins, because that's how you build a record. You start stacking wins. We're 4 in a row now, so we're stacking wins right now. And I like us. I was more concerned about Cincinnati than I am about Baltimore.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Listen, Cincinnati was eating on offense with everybody they played. We saw what they had just did, and we were wondering what kind of game plan are we going to be? How our guys are going to be able to hold up against Higgins. And look, they got their stuff off. I was telling my son through in the third quarter, I was yelling, I'm screaming. I'm like, listen, we need to score, because I know that you can't, no matter how good we are, you're not going to shut them down. They're going to make a run before this game is over. And we want to be able to sustain it by scoring at least another touchdown and maybe 2 field goals to hold them off.
Yeah.
And when they tied it, I was like, wow, man. But I was worried about them, but Jesse did a great job, considering these guys were fighting for their playoff hopes. They were fighting to stay alive. And Joe Burrow is one of the top elite quarterbacks in the league, and you got 2 elite wide receivers.
Yeah.
And Chad Brown, the running back, is not bad either.
He's a study. He has those fumble tendencies, but you saw him wrapping that ball up. Our boys, when the momentum was shifting, were desperately trying to get a strip.
Yes.
They were selling out for those strips.
I'm like, tackle or stop the legs, because there's times where they got carried another 10 yards trying to pull the ball out.
Yep. But so that was interesting to watch. But and their record was deflated, right? They were 4-6? They were 4-6, I think, before they played us.
Okay.
But that was with T. Higgins missing the last couple weeks, right? Like, they've had injuries, but now that you have them returning to full strength, even though their line was a little shaky, are they going to really step it up against us? I was with you. I was more worried about that game. I think Baltimore is a great team, but their defense has been a little shaky this year, and that's
a little shaky.
Very shaky. I'm trying to be nice, because I know you said your best friend's watching, Stacey. I got to be kind, man.
He know I'm just telling the truth. They have been. I called him one day and asked him after the Bengals game, like, what is it? Are you guys injured? Some of it, they have a few injuries, and they got a new defensive coordinator, and guys seem like they're not on the right page. And I think their best defender, Roquan Smith, went down with a hamstring injury, so he questionable to play Sunday. So I like him, and if he's not playing,
and defense is such a part of their identity. If they're not playing well on the defensive side of the ball, you kind of wonder, how long can the offense elevate that team to keep them competitive and winning? And again, that's nothing against Lamar at all, but it's a part of what you identify as being a Baltimore Raven. Is they've got to be a shutdown D, because that's their culture, that's their fan base, that's everything that they have. They're hard hitting, a smash mouth club. So I've got a lot of hope about that game, that it's going to come down to their offense versus our defense, and
we have to stop Derrick Henry, because the only thing that I'm concerned a little bit about, I know what much of a stud this dude is, and they didn't utilize him at all. I think he had like 13 carries, and everybody was killing them through the media. So expect him to get like 25 carries to make up for last week. So we had our work cut out for us.
And those arms aren't going to be letting go of any footballs, no matter how much you try to rip it. So don't worry about stripping. Don't worry about
stop those legs.
Take that man down. And get to him in bunches, man. Swarm that football. great show, Stacy. It was great
Yes.
seeing you this
Yes,
early
likewise.
Tuesday morning. And
Yeah.
I know we just previewed the game a little bit. If we catch up again to preview the Ravens game fully, great. If not, I'm looking forward to this week, man.
Yes, absolutely. So am I. Well, thank you for joining us. Please don't forget to log on to stormcloud.blog if you're looking for more Chargers content. We'll be back later in the week, maybe, to discuss another big showdown against Lamar Jackson and Baltimore Ravens, because, you know, we got life things going on, too. If you haven't subscribed yet, it would be so appreciated if you can do that before you leave this podcast. And as always, be good, be safe, be well, be kind to each other, enjoy the rest of your week, and vote up. Go Chargers, go 7-3.
Monday night, here we come.
Yes.